Welcome to the #1 spot health and wellness practitioners go to double their current income and turn their 10-hour work day into a 10-hour work week. Join us as we dive into the tips, tools, and tech you need to create a life and practice on your own terms. More freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and of course, funds. It's time to build your online practice. And I'm your host, Michelle Rogers, also known as the WELLthy Woman. Be sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of education, inspiration, and action. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to May. I am blowing my mind here. I'm also blown away. Lori and I were just talking. It's been 6 months since our last call. So this is really cool because this is a follow-up call. She was in the mentorship, right? I can't remember exactly where you were inside of it.
I was a month in. I started October 1st.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Amazing. So super early on in the mentorship. But at that point, you had already gotten your investment back for the mentorship at that point, and you had so much traction. So I'm just so curious. Do you want to give just a little brief background for people who didn't get to watch that yet? And if you guys want to watch that, drop it in the comments and I'll tag you in that last video so you can see Lori's previous video. But yeah, just give a little bit of intro of who you are so people can get to know you, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So I'm Lori Aikman. Obviously, it probably says my name on there, but background, I'm a nurse practitioner. I would say 10, a nurse first and then a nurse practitioner. So about 10 or 11 years in the ICU. Then I went to outpatient setting, worked, a little bit of mix, but pretty much in primary care. And then just not a great, I went from a teaching hospital to for-profit, outpatient primary care setting where it was you need to see more patients, numbers, all that kind of stuff. And didn't like that. I mean, it wasn't a good fit. I can go on and on, but you guys know how that is. So I ended up finding a job at a weight loss clinic, and I worked part-time there for a little while. But in that time I had already found, functional medicine and was doing I did some other courses, and I had started to work one-on-one with clients. I started, I think probably how everybody does. I worked with some friends and family first, but I found I didn't feel confident in how to help them. I didn't feel I had a system or a process. I remember when you and I did my discovery call, I think I remember telling you I was just really looking for the clinical support, because I had heard you in Rupa Health, you had given a talk in there. And I remember you showed, now knowing what it is on the other side, you showed your BSQ graph and how, and I was oh my gosh, the data. Okay. Yes. Because I was doing Dutch tests with people and some GI map, but I didn't know how, and I had taken, a little course on Dutch and a little course on GI map, but I didn't know how to marry it all together and how do I get my clients results, right? So I'd found you and I was oh my gosh, this makes I just loved that you were able to communicate there's a systematic way to go about things. Because I even tell friends this that I know, colleagues, Precision Analytical, that does the Dutch test, you can call and do their consult with a provider, to go over a test. I had done that before. And I had even called because I wasn't sure. I had even called a couple times about one test. And of course I got different answers from different providers. And I was I don't even know what to do, how to help people, is this right? Is this right? What am I doing? So I found you and just loved, I was in this Facebook group for a little while before I joined, I watched a couple of your lives and stuff. And then I was okay, this is it. I'm in. I need, just a systematic way to approach, how to work with a client is really what I was looking for. Cause I had already kind of started my virtual practice, but then I learned great things from you along the way too, of okay, do this a little differently or that a little differently. And so, really it was a year ago, well, a year and like a month. It was probably March last year when I started really, technically my virtual practice and working one-on-one with clients. So now, I'm done with the mentorship. I'm a year into this and it's evolving. So.
That's so good. Do you want to talk about like where you're at and like what you're doing now and like
Sure.
just like how things have evolved for you? Like even things that have been maybe like struggles or like unforeseen things that maybe you ran
Yes.
into or like
Oh, yes.
yeah.
I have a story about that right now. Yeah. Started the virtual practice, about a year ago. And then like, as soon as I got in so I started the mentorship October last year. As soon as I got in the mentorship, I remember like asking you, and I was like, okay, I started all the like the lab modules right away, just because I had clients and you were saying that I signed like two clients at like the 7,500 mark, like within a month of, no, three. I think it was like three clients at around 7,000, right when I started the mentorship. So I was like, okay, now, and cause I sold them on, I guess that's a takeaway for people is I learned that skill along the way. I didn't know how to take somebody like through the process, but I was in the mentorship and I knew that I would figure it out, and I would learn. And so I like sold these clients on, I'm going to take you through this, whole approach. We're going to look at all these labs. Cause I think that holds people, like a lot of us type A people that want to know, and have it all perfect. Like I quickly learned I just need to get working with people. So I sold like three people right at the beginning on the full program. And so got right to work. And so all what I've done so far over the last year is all one-to-one, which has been great. And I've learned a lot. But also my story is I am a mom of babies. So I have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old now. They're 18 months apart. My son is in preschool now, but my daughter's not. She's still home. So my evolution has been, and with my son starting preschool, we all got sick for like almost a month now. It was like 4 weeks ago 4 weeks ago tomorrow. Like he came home, got an ear infection, gave it to my daughter. My husband and I got sinus infections. And so all of this to say, I just really, I realized like I was kind of bottlenecked in my business because like kids were homesick from school, which limited the amount since I'm working from home and they're little. So I can't like watch some TV. Mommy's going to work in the office, they're not old enough for that. So really what I've put together in the last, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks, or the ideas come along of really launching a group program where I'm doing some lifestyle, I'm doing lifestyle with the group. So we're looking at balancing blood sugar and just all those things that we can do without necessarily having somebody's labs. And so I'm relaunching my program or launching, within like this month. So I hope to kind of run that in like cohorts, maybe like every 6 weeks or so. I'm looking up at my calendar here. But then I'm going to have like my up tier offer, where I still will work one-on-one with clients. But it's just been born out of like kind of necessity for my lifestyle of like, I want to keep the inflow of clients, and two, I come up against like people are like, oh, they're not sure about, the functional testing or cost or things like that. So it's kind of like a lower tier offer that I've put together with the, and my anticipation is that people will then go through that and like, okay, I'm ready for more. Let me get my testing, or whatever, whatever the next step will be. So, but that has come out of, I think, the confidence of working one-on-one with clients over the last year and then seeing, okay, what are the consistent themes? Like all of my type of client are, I would say, high achieving women. I would say they're in burnout, right? So there's some cortisol, HPA dysregulation. And so consistently there is, there's blood sugar control needed. They have higher glucose and higher insulin than we'd like to see. And so that's kind of one of the things, along with stress management and stuff like that, that I'm going to be focusing on in the group setting. And then if they, then of course we can go to do a Dutch and do a FBCA and, move on from there. So
I love that flow so much. Like that right there, what you just explained was like the exact flow that I love seeing practitioners do. It's like, get your high value, high ticket, one-on-one comprehensive program in place so you can have those cash injections and start to actually like get some momentum and start really leveraging your time and energy and getting that experience under your belt. And like you said, seeing these common themes like around your ideal client, like what is going on? What are they like dealing with? What actually is going on in their lives? And then creating a group program where you can further leverage your time, right? That is it from my experience, like from what I've seen, like that is my favorite way for people to do it. Like that is the best way to have like one awesome high value, high ticket comprehensive offer and then having your scalable offer. And it's like,
yes.
Like, that's like, I feel like that's it. That's the gold.
Yeah. Because I will say, just to speak to, before I came into the mentorship, I had gone through like a more business program to like build this funnel group program kind of thing. But I think I wasn't successful with that. Now I can integrate that stuff that I learned, but I wasn't successful at that at first because I really needed the confidence, like from a clinical standpoint of having having like I know that this works for people and I can take people through this, where I had like bought this like, oh, build your funnel, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be great. You're going to make all this money. It was like, well, no, not exactly. I had to figure some things out first.
Yeah, you're not alone. I feel like I talk to a lot of practitioners who have that, like that high hope, like I'm coming in, I'm entering the online space. I'm going to make an online course and get all this passive income and create this group program and like just explode. And it's like, there's some things you got to do first. Have the vision and like let that be something you're working towards. And I cannot stress enough like the value of really working with people one-on-one and having those like creating that stability in your practice first, and then like actually creating those online courses or those group programs from an actual state of abundance and overflow, instead of like, oh crap, like I gotta get 20 people into this program right now, or I'm not gonna like be able to pay my bills or something like that. It's like, no, like that's not the energy of like what you want to be creating these things from. It's like create these from like the overflow, the abundance, like the spaciousness, like the excitement, right? Of like, oh, now that I'm stable and I have this really awesome income coming in from my comprehensive program, it's like, now I can like actually approach this other piece and create more impact, So I love that so much. Amazing. Amazing.
I'm excited.
So good. Any other updates?
I was trying to think, like, I was thinking when we did our last call, I was trying to think if we were but we were, because I know we moved, like, this at the beginning of last year, though. I was thinking, like, I was like, I remember I wasn't in this room, but we built this, like, home office in this room. But, I launched a podcast. So that literally just the trailer is out.
So good.
But yeah, that was born of, the work, like working with my clients one-on-one and figuring out the type of woman that I attract, that comes in and needs my help, is that, like, I would say over functioning, like high achieving woman who I would say you're heading for burnout because you're like, I got to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so my podcast is more born of like the personal development side of things. Cause
Mm-hmm.
I'm like in my practice, when I'm working one-on-one with the clients, we're saying, okay, here's what all the tests say. This is what we need to do physically.
Mm-hmm.
But I found, not necessarily with everybody, but I would say with, a lot of the women, there's like this inner, let's say, they just like need some self-love. There's
Mm-hmm.
like this,
Mm-hmm.
I always say they're like hustling for their worth, or they're hustling for
Mm-hmm.
like their value.
Mm-hmm.
They do everything for everyone else, and um they're overworking, and then
Mm-hmm.
because of that, they're burning out. And so the physical symptoms are what bring them to me, to work with. But then what I hope to address through the podcast is more those like psychological factors, and that like, why are we burning out? Like I interviewed a friend of mine for the podcast, and she and her husband struggled with infertility for a long time. And she was like, I think I was just working a lot because I wanted to avoid that part of my life. Like when I was home, it felt like home felt empty because we wanted a kid and we couldn't have a kid. And so I think I worked a lot to not have to like be there and face that reality, so just having those like deep conversations of like, why we do the crazy things we do. So
Totally. It's all connected
yeah.
too, which is like such a beautiful, like for you to demonstrate that you go to that depth and like creating that space and that type of container for your clients. I think that's such a great, like beautiful way for you to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm really excited about it. I'm honestly like my hope, behind it is just that it really is very transform. Somebody like gets a nugget and goes like, "Oh my God, I never realized that," or just those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gems, the pearls, the like
Yeah,
little things. Yeah. I'm
exactly.
curious, like, if a practitioner is kind of watching this right now and they're
Mhm.
like, okay, wait, you've got this like high ticket program, you're making all these sales. Wait, now you're making like a group program and you're doing a podcast. Like, to someone I like entering the space, I could see them being like,
Yeah,
wait, that
that's
sounds like a
overwhelming.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
how does it actually feel in the day to day for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I will say I don't have a lot of
And
time.
having two kids.
I have two kids, right? So, and my son goes to school for really, by the time I like drop him off and like I get home after dropping him off and then I go pick him back up, right? I really only have like, well, I shouldn't even say that. The childcare I have for my daughter, I really only have probably 12 hours a week right now of childcare. And then, but then I like will get up before the kids, or I'd like work a little bit at night before, but also with the like, I help women that are in burnout. So I don't want to burn out either. I know I need my sleep and I need my self care too. But what I think out of that necessity of not having a lot of time, and then having coaching, it's really allowed me to focus on like, what do I really need to do? What really moves the needle, because like, I don't, I don't email my list as much as I should. It's funny. I was talking to somebody, I'm kind of outsourcing some stuff with the podcast. And I was talking to the girl today and she's like, asking me all these questions. I was like, I honestly don't email the list as much as I should, but I haven't gotten a lot of sales from my email list, at least yet in my business. Or I don't, I would love to show up on social media more than I do, so I prioritize the like things that I have to do and the things that I know will like make me money or like lead to more sales. Which and just learned like what has worked for me. But yeah, I have a handful of clients right now. I do every other week, meetings with them. So like for now, so like a couple hours a week, I'm having a one-on-one with a client. Um, and then I maybe do two podcast interviews a week. So that's like 2 hours. And then what was the other thing? So now the group program is like the big, like taking a lot of my time to like kind of get that stuff up and running. But to speak to probably the type of person that's watching this, if you're a health, practitioner of some kind, right? You're thinking you have to do it perfectly and you need to just do it messy. You have to like take the messy action and go like, because if I wanted things to be perfect, I would never get it done because I don't have enough time, to get it to that perfect place. But I think another lesson that I learned is even if I do think that, then like 3 months from now, I'm going to be like, oh no, I need to throw this out and do, like I'm already always making things better and like, how can I improve this? So don't spend a lot of time like, doing these things that then you're going to turn around and like, you know what, that's not really working so well. I need to do it this way because this seemed to be working better for my clients. So just taking that messy action and letting things be, like I'm not going to spend like hours editing my podcast. It's going to be more authentic and more conversational and, that'll be it. And that's okay. And eventually, with time, you get more efficient or you get more proficient, I guess, at those things. So
Totally,
it's just really learning to take the action, figuring out what those needle movers are and focusing on those and not getting lost in the weeds of action, so you and I both know Heather has made, what was she saying? There's a difference between motion and action. So there's like, we can get stuck in the busy work and we think we're doing things that move our business forward, but we're really just like in the busy work versus taking action that actually, move, like brings in revenue or whatever, accomplishes things we need to in our business. So
totally. And that like comes from that like wounding, right? That proving, like that proving your worth. Like I need to be busy. Like I need to be productive. I need to like do the thing. Because if I'm not doing something, that I'm useless or I'm worthless or I'm whatever that may be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think also just like with everything that you're juggling, it's like it sounds like a lot, but at the same time, when you put it into perspective of like, oh, I'm only on client calls for a couple hours, like every other week or something like that. It's like I think that the average practitioner watching, they're so bogged down with their schedule or like having to see a certain number of clients. They're like, how like wait, what you have what? Where do you have this time or like what you're doing? But like that is really the goal of like leveraging your time and energy with these programs and like starting off in this area and like really shifting the paradigm of how we operate as practitioners so that we can show up fully. Like you get to show up so much better for your clients, for your partner, for your kiddos. Like now you get to create more impact with this group program and this podcast. Like it's just, it's such a win situation, like around the board. Like it's just, it's crazy. I see there's several people watching. If you guys have questions, feel free to like chime in and ask away. But yeah, but yeah, I love seeing that because I think that what you're doing right now is really kind of like a dream for a lot of people. Like, and perhaps when you were in like actually in the hospital or like doing the thing, like this was probably like, like, could you even have seen where you're at right now? Like how far did that seem? Did that even seem like something that was able to be accomplished? Was that even something where you were like, did it seem tangible or accessible or?
Well, because I will say I've been in business since 2019. I started off, so my husband and I, we both did CrossFit before we met each other, but we met at the gym. And then I started doing just some nutrition coaching with clients at the gym, like their macros, protein, calories, fat. But, it's like basically hour for hour what I was doing in practice. So I was like working with a couple clients, and my goal was to eventually get to this place, but there's no way I could, or it was going to take a lot of freaking work, to be able to pay myself and replace what I was making. And two, I just realized like, okay, there's more than just, I think that's when I was like on my functional medicine discovery. And I was realizing like, I remember this one woman in particularly, like she was not losing weight. Things weren't working for her. And just realizing it's not just calories in, calories, there's something more going on here with this person. And just realizing like that there's a personalized approach that I wanted to be able to provide for people, or just a really more, like for me, just with being a nurse practitioner background, I felt like maybe not to sound like, I just felt like I have too much of an education to be just like macro coaching people, like I feel like I can be able to, I don't necessarily know how to help people at a deeper level, but I know that I have the ability to do so, not to harp on any nutrition coaches or, anybody, that does work for some people, but
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that sort of feeling. I feel like a lot of people feel like that when they're working in a hospital setting or maybe working for another practitioner. And it's like, I can only do these certain things that are kind of keeping me inside of this box, or I feel like my hands are tied behind my back, or I'm only working with people who are asking for insurance coverage, or it's like that same feeling of like, I have so much more to offer, and like, I'm being restrained or like constrained or whatever that is. And it's like that same sensation. And to be able to like almost like actualize your potential, where you're at now, and like it continues to grow and expand is so awesome, And you had mentioned like, you saw this, like you wanted to create this, but that past self of you thought, oh, I need to work so much harder. It's going to take so much work. Or it's going to be hard, right? That's again, that mentality that's very deeply ingrained, especially in Western culture, like in the States and Canada, I'm sure too. But it's like, you have to work hard. You have to climb the ladder. You have to like put in the dirt and sweat and blood and tears. And like, yes, of course you have to work. But it's like, you have to earn it, like prove yourself or whatever. And it's like, actually just like when you are more efficient and you're actually, like you're saying, prioritizing the needle movers and prioritizing the things that are actually going to take you to that next step, like that's a completely different game, which is like why, and I know you appreciate mentorship. I'm not the only mentor you've ever had or coach you've ever had. And it's like, you appreciate that because you've seen it, you've experienced it, you've witnessed it, you've felt it, where it's like, you literally collapse timelines. You literally get to like bypass a bunch of mistakes and wasted time and energy and money to like kind of take the shortcut. And it's not a shortcut in like you're cutting corners, but like it's a shortcut and like where you want to go, and you actually have assistance in getting there. And it's like also that, like I feel like it's a female thing of like accepting help too. It can be like a hard thing, like actually like admitting you need help and then actually asking for help. But it's like, once you do, you're like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yes, for sure. Well, and I think there can be, just to speak to that, I hear other people say that, generalizing, but like a male entrepreneur might go out, get a business loan, no big deal. Whereas like, I know for me, it was like, and that's something I'm kind of coming up again, like I'm wanting to invest a little more to like do some marketing and to grow, but there's like this, fear around like the investment of what it takes to build a business. There is like, I guess initially I, was like working, and then I was paying for, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out how to word this better, but just, I think women have a harder time making the investment in themselves, than maybe men do sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, oh, if I, like I've seen people be worried about like, oh, I've got to make the money or can I really spend this? And, I think sometimes too, it's that doubt, are you confident in yourself to be able to
Oof.
make that? I think that's something that I have built, that's come over the last like year plus now is like, okay, I know I can invest in something because I'm confident in myself to make the money back and and like learning what like a good investment in your business is.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think to speak to the mentorship, I mean, I even from like a month in, I felt so I was able to sell people on my program without necessarily having taken somebody through the program before. And just being, that was such a huge thing or huge benefit for me of like coming into the mentorship and going, okay, this is the systematic way, approach and made me feel confident in order to be able to step forward and help people without necessarily having done it before.
Right. Because you had like 90 other practitioners who are like, hey, we got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everybody who's already gone through the program, it's just like, yeah, we know these protocols work. We know this strategy works. Like, we'll support you through this process. And like having all of that added sort of like years and years of experience and, hundreds and hundreds of patients and clients. And it's like, okay, that'll boost my confidence. Like I know I'm going to have I know I'm going to have the guidance through that whole process, which is super huge. Yeah.
I can't wait to, I mean, on a personal note, so I had my daughter, before I entered the mentorship. Yeah. Cause she was born in July. I entered the mentorship in October, but I've still been nursing her. I'm trying to make it to a year. And then I'm finally going to be able to take myself through protocols. Cause like I have a GI map from last year. I'll have to redo my GI map. I'm so curious what my Dutch looks like. And like, I'm just ready to I want to put myself through the detox too. I'm just like, okay, it'll finally be my turn for my healing.
I love that. That's so exciting. That's super exciting. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. How has it already been like over half an hour? Okay. I don't see any questions. You guys don't have any questions? I'm like peeking down at the comments, but nothing. Lori's an open book. I'm an open book.
Feel free to message too if somebody I think last time we did a live, somebody asked me a question about just like had another mom and just like the time commitment with having kids and stuff too. So feel free to shoot me a DM or whatever if you have questions about that type of stuff. So
you definitely had some mamas in the group, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Perfection.
For me, it had made me even more focused. I think, it was like, okay, I don't have a lot of time, so let's just get down to business. I don't have time to waste on the fluff,
Seriously, like I feel like that's the way to do it too. Cause it's like, I always tell people, or I've told people in the past, it's like, just pretend like you only have like 2 hours of internet per day. and then it's like, you don't have access, like get everything done and just like super focused. But yeah, it's doable. It's 100% doable for sure. For sure. There was something, and just speaking of your daughter, like the last time we talked, I remember just being so moved when you were saying like how that, like she became such a huge inspiration for you to just like move forward and actually like make this happen. Cause you just wanted to be like the best role model for her and just I get chills also.
Definitely. I think like that, because you can think, oh, I want to do that. I'm going to do that someday. And that for me, it was like when I found out I was having her, I was like, I don't want to, be like, have to tell her like, oh, I really wanted to do this, but I never had the courage to actually make it happen. That was like a big motivating factor for me to like, okay, this has been a dream. It's not going away. I love when people say, if it's in you, it is for you. If you have that desire to make your practice happen, like you can make it happen. You can do it.
100%.
Just start taking some action. Little bit of like, 20 seconds of courage every day. Just move forward.
Yeah. Totally. And it really puts it into perspective when it's like it's already May, right? Like literally like 4 months are already gone out of this year.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like time moves so fast and it's so easy for us to put it off and to say, oh, I would like to do this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to wait until ... Yeah. And it's just like, no, like, let's go.
Yeah.
We did have a question I saw. A couple questions here. Oh, was I like missing questions? Okay. So one says, hi, I missed the beginning of the live. I'm curious if you still work under your NP license.
So I do not. And this is something, so I worked up until July, until I had my daughter. I was working as an NP. And then I didn't go back to that job. They even like called me recently and were like, can you cover? And I was like take
not
on
in a million years.
It's like $50 an hour. I'm like, it's not even worth it, because then I have to figure out childcare for, because the shifts are weird. But now I'm kind of like you, Michelle, I'm kind of trying to decide if I'm going to maintain my license even now, or maybe I'll go like inactive because unfortunately my husband has our benefits and stuff are through him. I'm not at a place where I'm like paying myself benefits or anything like that yet, but so I'm fortunate in that I don't have to have that day job or whatever while my practice is still growing. But if I continue to practice in this way, I don't need my license. And it's probably like an ego thing of like, do I let that go? Or maybe do I just go inactive? And once upon a time, I thought maybe I would I hear my daughter crying outside the door. Hopefully you guys don't hear.
You can bring her inside if you want. I mean, I don't mind.
Okay. She can make a cameo.
Yeah.
Hi, are you okay? Here. Come here. I know. Do you want to say hi to Miss Michelle? There. Is that better? Oh, there's Waylon over there too. My son's out the door. Are you waving? So yes, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to keep my license, keep it active, I guess.
Which one do you want me to take? Both or?
Oh, there. We're almost done.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw. Cutie.
But yeah, I remember you saying that you your ND license is inactive, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when you said that, and I was like, could I let go of? And now I'm going.
It's done. It was a total ego death. Like it was a process, and a lot of it was external. Just people being like, "Wait, you're not going to be a doctor anymore," and me just being like, "Wait, I'm still the same person."
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like, oh, all that school and education, but I think I was thinking. So I'm in Florida, so I do have a what do they call it? Independent practice license. Mm-hmm. So at one point I was like, well, maybe I'll keep it active and then I will, maybe I'll open like a med spa, and I'll be like the medical director
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I do have no active plans to do that right now. So
yeah. Another question was, how did the first 1 or 2 clients go when you sold but hadn't run the program yet? Anything we can do or you do differently?
Oh, anything?
Good question.
No, I will say in hindsight, one of those clients was like a super aligned client. I love her. We're nearing the end of her. No, don't do that. Oh, sorry. I turned on them.
You've got your hands full now.
This is real life right here.
I love it.
Okay. Thanks, bye. The other client, so another one of my clients that's not my ideal clients, you know, like kind like looking, I've been able to help her with a lot, and I'm happy how things have gone. So there's the one, and then I had a mother and daughter, that the daughter paid for both of them. And this is maybe TMI, but like, so the mom we've gone through, she's done great, you know, and really improved a whole lot. You know, her BSQ, like from starting to like her midpoint was like so much better. And but the daughter,
just so you guys know, the BSQ is a way for us to track progress, like symptom progress. Yeah. Awesome.
So the daughter, and this just speaks to the type of client that I work with, over functioning, putting everybody else first. She actually, we stopped working together. She just couldn't commit to keep up with everything. And like I would say, of anything, if people are high maintenance during like the discovery phase, like your sales calls and things like that, they're gonna be high maintenance. Hey, no. They're going to be high maintenance while you're working together.
Agreed.
So if you have to like get on 5 calls with them, if they have a million questions, you know, and they're like, our sales call was actually good, but just like hindsight, there were like some maybe yellow flags of like,
you could sense it.
You might be a little difficult to work with. But it's been, you know, it was, she did have her testing done, you know, but then just decided she needed to stop. And, but with the plans of resuming, I don't know that she will. I'm not going to force, you know, I'm kind of, I think we're just kind of like, okay, this is not aligned. You feel, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's definitely learning of like, okay, that's not a super aligned client for me. I think is the only thing I would have done differently.
Yep. Beautiful. Yeah. All right, we'll let you go.
Sorry. I didn't realize he was going to leave them in here and they were going to, of course.
No worries.
They're little.
No
that's real life.
They're doing their thing.
I don't mind
I think
that
was it, unless someone has one that they want to post. Otherwise, we'll head off. But you guys can also leave your comments. Like if you're watching the replay or you have a question come up after this, you can totally pop it in the comment section and either myself or Lori can get back to you. But yeah, thank you so much, Lori. Like it's so fun to just like catch up with you. Like 6 months later, just like hear where you're at and what you're doing, and that everything is still working, and if anything it's just like expanding, and like how fun and exciting. I'm so proud of you for actually following through and like doing the thing and trusting yourself and all of it. It's just like it's so good.
Thank you for your guidance too. I mean, you like I really, like I said, I think because there's probably people in this group that are like me, that are more, you know, I'm a very like left brain, and just your systematic approach to things, like just really helped me to feel confident in helping people. And so, I mean, it's just so invaluable, you know, of just like learning, you know, just really, I don't think that there is, at least what I've heard from, you know, there's other programs out there, and I've heard I think a lot of people maybe look to IFM, and like the feedback I've always heard is IFM is like a lot of theory.
And like no practical.
Not a lot of like, how do I actually help a person? And you know, even like one of those clients that, like the one I said was more an aligned client, she had worked with another practitioner before. You know, she was like, I've already spent like $6,000 with somebody else. And this is the one I told you, they were doing like IV glutathione and like super intense detox, but they hadn't, and like they've used some different testing. Nothing showed up on her gut. Just a lot of things that through our testing, I was able to identify that other practitioner didn't identify. And I think just hearing what her perception of them, I just think there's not, lots of people are getting into functional medicine, but not a lot of people like know a systematic and like what is important and what are when I have conversations with clients, I kind of talk about like the foundations and like we need to lay the foundation here and handle this first before we then go, you know, blood sugar and adrenals and hormones and gut and, you know, I think if you're looking for, you know, just speaking to the people who are obviously in this group, if you're looking for that guidance, like the mentorship is the way to go, in my opinion. I mean, of just, because I think too, I know you want to help people and you want to help get them results. And so you don't want to just be like throwing spaghetti at the walls with clients and like, let's do this test. You know, that's what I felt like I was doing before. I was like, let's run a Dutch. Okay. Let's do your GI map. And what do we do with this now? How do I help you? You know, or, so anyway.
It's so true. Yeah. It's so true. It is. It's like a blessing. And it makes it a little bit more challenging for clients and patients, right? It's like functional medicine is getting more and more and more traction, and really functional medicine is like a buzzword, like thanks for popularizing it or whatever. But it's like, you know, there's so many practitioners, naturopaths, acupuncturists, like, you know, Ayurvedic practitioners, like all of us are doing functional
chiros,
medicine. Chiropractors, like, right. Like functional nutritionists, like there's so many of us who are practicing functional, but it's like, it's challenging because it does feel like that. It feels like just like you're still throwing darts, but instead, like you're not in the conventional world, but you're over here throwing darts, and it just feels like all confusing. And it's like confusing for practitioners. And if the practitioner is confused, then the client or patient is for sure confused, you know? So it's like when you as a practitioner have the confidence, you know, the trajectory, right? Like, you know what needs to happen, and you can guide and educate the client along the way. It just creates such a, I don't know, like just a much more secure and safe container for healing to happen. Like when that trust is there and that like relationship is there and that commitment is there on both sides, like it's a game changer. Like,
for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lori. It's always awesome to chat with you. And thank you for sharing and all the things and just being like an open book. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who is tuning in. That was fun. And again, if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop your questions and we'll get back to you. So perfect. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. And I will chat with you soon.
Sounds good. Bye.
All right, that's a wrap for today. If you want the exact breakdown of how I help practitioners go from their first 5K to consistent 50K months with just 2 offers, 10 hours per week, and an audience of less than 500 people, be sure to click the link in the podcast description or head to wealthywoman.co/breakdown. To make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe. And for daily online practice insights, follow me on Instagram at wealthywoman.co. Let's create your life of wealth, full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy.